rebukes of her father, she smilingly told him, "My dear father, this young man by my side is your actual son-in-law, the great sage Chaivana, who is born in the family of Brigu." Purport. Although the father chastised the daughter, assuming that she had accepted another husband, the daughter knew that she was completely honest and chaste, and therefore she was smiling. When she explained that her husband, Chaivana Muni, had now been transformed into a young man, she was very proud of her chastity, and thus she smiled as she talked with her father. So I'll read the verse again. This is from Canto 9, Chapter 3, Text 22. Sukanya, however, being very proud of her chastity, smiled upon hearing the rebukes of her father. She smilingly told him, "My dear father, this young man by my side is your actual son-in-law, the great sage Chaivana, who is born in the family of Brigu." Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langate girim yakipam tamaham vande sigurum tinatarinam. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjara Shalakaya Chakshumiritam Yena Tasamai Shri Gurave Namaha. So Sukanya is showing one of the vaishnavi qualities that we find Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. What does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? He says, Mrityu Savarharaschaham Ubhavascha Bhavishatam. This is 10:34. Kirti Shri Vak Chanarinam Smitir Medha Diti Shama. So there are 7 qualities mentioned here. Among women, I am fame, fortune, speech, memory, intelligence, faithfulness, and patience. So she is showing the quality of triti, or faithfulness. She's faithful to her old husband, even though he is not old. Of course, now he's not old anymore. he got a new body. But even before that, she didn't mind, and she was very faithful. And so this is, today we're going to talk about the different qualities of vaishnavis, inspired by the behavior of Sukanya. Srila Prabhupada, he has one disciple, Jagatarini. Maybe you know of her. She's Burijan's wife. And one time, it was very interesting how Prabhupada arranged her marriage. She was a very famous actress. She was with Mick Jagger, starring with Mick Jagger, who was famous in those days in Hollywood. And so she was a very famous actress. But Prabhupada sent her to marry Burijan, and they never met, they never talked, they never saw each other. There was no internet, or even phones weren't working. And she just went there and married him just because Prabhupada told her to. And so then it came in the newspaper in Australia that famous actress is forced by Japanese cult to marry Japanese monk. Her parents got the paper. They said, "Oh my God, it's our daughter." They went to meet Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada glanced at Jagatarini and said, "So this is your father and mother?" And she said, "Yes, Srila Prabhupada." Prabhupada smiled at her father. "So your daughter will deliver you." The man was a little flustered, and he said, "Oh, yes, we always knew she'd do something like that." And Prabhupada paused, and his face was expressing concern and compassion. "Don't think she's given up your service. She's doing the highest service. Because of her, so many generations back and so many forward will be liberated." Now, in India, they think you have to have a son to do that. But in the case of Vaishnavism, the daughter can also deliver the family, as Prabhupada said here. A Vaishnavi can deliver the whole family. So the first quality that Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita is kirti, fame. We know of many famous women in Srimad Bhagavatam, Kunti Devi, Draupadi, and and even in our movement, there's famous women, Hladini, who died um, trying to protect other devotees in Africa, Manurupa, who was not a Prabhupada disciple but went back to Godhead, Nanda Devi, who was also not a Prabhupada disciple and went back to Godhead. So there's many famous women even in our movement, but Draupadi is one of our famous women. And sometimes, like I saw online, somebody was saying Varnashram means women should just stay in the house and cook and have kids, and that's the women's duty. But there's more than that. Draupadi, if you hear about Draupadi, she was a Kshatriya lady. And one time Krishna and Satyabhama visited the Pandavas when they were living in the forest at Kamyavan. And Satyabhama questioned Draupadi, how is it you're able to keep your husbands so submissive and obedient to you? She had 5 husbands. Imagine that. Um, that's even one's enough to keep satisfied. Um, so I see the Pandavas are always ready to please you in all respects, and they never become even slightly angry with you. Do you control them by some mystic chant? Or is it the good result of all the austerities you formerly performed? Or is it by your youthful beauty and artistic use of dress and makeup you managed to keep your husbands under your control? I'm asking you this because I want to keep my Krishna under control in the same way. Please tell me your secret. Draupadi felt offended and said, these are the methods of wicked women. You should know that men can never be made truly obedient by such means. My secret is simply this. I've given up all sense of false pride as well as personal desires for sense gratification. I carefully control my anger, and I always serve my husbands with great care and devotion. Indeed, I restrain my senses so carefully I don't allow even a glance to betray the slightest bit of emotion. I never think of bathing, eating, or sleeping until my husbands and servants have done so, and I'm ready to rise up quickly at any hour to personally greet my husbands when they return home. Now, not only did she serve her husbands in that way, but she did a lot of other kind of service, not just staying at home and watching the kids, even though she had kids by each one of her husbands. So listen to what she was doing. While living at Indraprastha, Maharaj Yudhisthira used to feed thousands of Brahmins daily. And Draupadi said, it was my duty to see their needs were properly taken care of. She was in charge of food for life, thousands every day. That was only one of her duties. Now, her second duty, she said, I had 100,000 maidservants to assist me. I knew the names, faces, and capabilities of each and every one of them. I used to direct all of these maidservants, and any complaints about them would be submitted personally to me. Besides these maidservants, I knew all the male servants and the cowherds. So she was temple commander. She was in charge of all the servants in the palace. Imagine hundreds of thousands of servants, and there's complaints even, and she had to take care of all of them. She knew each one of them, 100,000 maidservants, and the men too. She had to direct the men servants too. So temple commander, food for life. One more thing she was doing too, besides that. I also alone kept track of my husband's daily income and expenditure, thus only I knew the totality of their wealth. She was the accountant. She was the treasurer. Imagine, you have to be treasurer, temple commander, and food for life all at the same time. So she was a Kshatriya lady. Even Rukmini, when Krishna kidnapped her, she was driving the chariot. The Kshatriya ladies knew how to drive the chariot because he was fighting, so he didn't have a chariot driver. She was driving the chariot. So, yeah, according in Varnashram, there's different levels. There's Brahmin ladies, Kshatriya ladies. The Brahmin ladies were chanting mantras when Draupadi, who was it? It was Subhadra. Subhadra was being, it's Draupadi. Draupadi was being kidnapped by Krishna. Not Draupadi, it was, who who did Krishna kidnap? Rukmini, yes, Rukmini, when she was being kidnapped. And then she was going to the temple with some Brahmana ladies who were chanting mantras. And the Vaishya ladies knew mantras too. They were chanting mantras to protect Krishna. And so there's a lot more to it than just staying at home. Draupadi, she stayed at home, but it was a palace. And her kingdom was the whole world, you know. And so she had to live up to that capability. Sukanya, she just was a sage in the forest. She didn't have to do, but she was a princess, and she had to satisfy her Brahmana husband. And so, yes, Kunti is famous, Draupadi is famous. So the next quality we have from Bhagavad Gita is speech, beautiful speech, Sri Vak, very nice speech. Of course, Saraswati, she's the goddess of learning. And we have our own little Saraswati, Amalati's daughter. Prabhupada wrote a letter to Saraswati that we have seen your note regarding Saraswati Maharaj, and you may engage one Sanskrit teacher for Saraswati, so she shall become a very great scholar, just like Jiva Goswami was trained in Sanskrit language from early childhood, and no one could surpass him in all of India. So Prabhupada was very encouraging to us. If we had some talent, he would encourage us to use it. And the memory, smriti, that is also a quality of women, vaishnavis. What is the most important thing to remember? Krishna. We have to remember Krishna. And Prabhupada said, if you chant a chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam every day for 1 year, you will become a learned scholar. So I did that. And then after I did that, then I started teaching Bhagavatam, Bhakti Vaibhav and Bhakti Vedanta courses. And so ladies in the time of Krishna, they used to help each other remember Krishna. When Krishna was leaving Hastinapur, all the females were crying, but they were talking about Krishna, and Bhagavatam records their words, describing Krishna, how beautiful Krishna is, how he's the creator, and so many things. And so we can follow in the footsteps of those ladies of Hastinapur and talk about Krishna. Prabhupada's training us to do that. Medha, intelligence, that's another quality of vaishnavis. Devahuti, she was the mother of Kapila Dev, who taught a very complicated Sankhya philosophy to her. And so she was very intelligent. And at the end, what was her conclusion? She came to a conclusion. What was her realization after hearing the whole Sankhya philosophy? She said, oh, my Lord, a person who's chanting your holy name, although born of a low family, like that of Chandala, is situated on the highest platform of self-realization. Such a person must have performed all kinds of penance and sacrifice according to Vedic rituals. Such person is considered the best of the Aryan family. And so Kunti, although she was very intelligent, she felt herself as less intelligent. And in her prayers to Krishna, she said, you come here to teach the transcendental science and devotional service to the hearts of the advanced transcendentalists and sages. They're purified. They can discriminate between matter and spirit. How can we women know you? I'm just a woman. So the fact is that Krishna came for devotees like Kunti. He came for her, Prabhupada said. And in his lecture, Prabhupada said, here is another authority, Kunti, not ordinary woman. Krishna has gone to offer his respect, to take the dust of her feet before going to Dwarka. So that is the Vedic system. He wanted to get her blessings before leaving Hastinapur. The great yogis and sannyasis, they go to the forest. Sabari Muni, we're reading, he went to the bottom of the Jamuna to avoid bad association and perform great austerities just to get a glimpse of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord. But Kunti used to have Krishna as a guest in her house. So the sages would leave the forest and go to visit Kunti to see Krishna. Otherwise, they had, it would take a long time out in the forest there. So Kunti, she was very humble. So out of her humbleness, humility. She's presenting herself. Oh yeah, I'm just a less intelligent woman, but she's not ordinary, Prabhupada said. She's the aunt of Krishna, but she was presenting herself that way. Prabhupada said in a lecture in Bhagavad Gita on that verse, Striya Vaishyas Tata Shudras. He said, yes, women, they should be given protection, but here in Bhagavad Gita, he surpasses all these formalities. In the social structure, you consider, oh, a woman's less intelligent or Shudra, less purified, but in spiritual consciousness, there's no such bar. Here, Krishna accepts everyone. Either you become a woman or Shudra or Vaishya or whatever you may be, it doesn't matter. If you just take to Krishna consciousness, Krishna is there, he'll give you all protection. And so he doesn't show special favor only to a great scholar. He knows the sincerity of purpose. It's our motivation, he sees. And so this humility is good. And when you're humble, then you can see the lotus feet of the Lord. There's a verse in the first canto which says that he's always looking, the Lord is looking toward his lotus feet, and then he sees his devotees, if you're humble there. And so Burijan, he said a very nice thing about humility, that when the roots of humility grow deeper, the tree of bhakti grows taller. So humility, these ladies, they were so great, they were so exalted, but they were very humble at the same time. Now, Sukanya, she's a very exalted lady, but she's humble at the same time. Now, Sukanya was showing driti, or faithfulness. And Gadari, she was faithful also. She heard her husband was blind and she covered her eyes, and she remained blind her whole life, but she got great mystic powers from doing that. Yeah. So one time she called her son because her son was going to go into the battle and fight with the Pandavas. So she wanted to give him protection. Mothers always feel like that. So she said, you come to see me without any clothes. Now, he's a grown-up man. He shouldn't be doing that in front of his mother. But she said, you come naked. So Krishna saw him naked, and he said, where are you going? He said, I'm going to see my mother. He said, you can't go like that. And for once, Duryodhana listened to Krishna. And he put a gamsha, he put a towel to wrap his private parts. He went to his mother. She took off her blindfold and looked at him. And by her mystic power, every part of her body she saw became impenetrable, like iron. He didn't need armor, except where he covered. And that's where he got hit and he had to leave his body in the battle. So she got such great mystic powers by her austerities. So she had patience. She had a lot of patience. So we need patience. We need determination not to give up when difficulties come. If someone gets angry and you tolerate it, Mahabharata says, you will get all their good qualities and they will get your bad qualities. So, yes, I have an example of one of my god sisters. Her name is Kunti, was Kunti. She left her body. Of her patience. She was never a big leader. She wasn't a person that people honored and respected, being a person of high position. She was a simple mother and a very dedicated devotee of Lord Krishna. And those who knew her well honored her, but there weren't so many people who knew her. There was no internet in those days. When she got cancer, the cancer spread viciously and entered her spine and into her organs and just crippled her. It was such a ferocious case of cancer, the doctor said, there's absolutely nothing anyone can do. You have 6 months to live maximum. She was practically paralyzed from the waist down. She was in a wheelchair. According to the medical analysis, she was racked with pain. Yet she was always smiling, always encouraging, and making everyone happy. It was so amazing how blissful she was, how positive she was. The local TV station heard about it. They met her. They never seen anything like this in their life. And they had her on TV, half-hour program. And the hostess was just praising her. Kunti Devi was talking to people and giving lectures about the beauty of life, the beauty of bhakti, and the good fortune of anyone who has Krishna. The hostess asked her, "How could you be so happy when you're in such a condition?" She replied, "Because I know I'm the soul. I'm eternal. This body is just a temporary situation, and the situation is bringing my soul closer to God. Therefore, I'm rejoicing and I'm happy." According to the doctor's diagnosis, her physical symptoms was everything else was utterly hopeless except one thing, her consciousness. Ramana Swami said he was with her when she left the world, and she was surrounded by loving devotees chanting the holy names, and she gave her heart and life to Krishna in a totally positive, grateful, and happy state. Now, you can't get that consciousness even from the best psychologist or psychiatric. They can do some good, but a really true and deep positive attitude in life comes by knowledge and realization of the eternal blissful nature of the soul, the all attractive, all merciful, beautiful nature of God, our relationship with Krishna, and the beautiful and wonderful opportunities to serve Krishna that we have at every moment. So, yes, faithfulness. We must be grateful. We must be faithful to Srila Prabhupada. Don't go away. Another lady, her name was Nanda. She left her body in Vrindavan. And she came there to leave her body. She had multiple sclerosis. And it was difficult because of the disease. She couldn't chant properly. Sometimes she couldn't finish her rounds. It was hard even to put her hand into her bead bag. So what did she do? She tried her best, and she didn't leave her body for 20 years. She was in that condition, and listening to lectures, trying to chant for 20 years. But she had a vision before she left her body of Srila Prabhupada. She was walking with Srila Prabhupada on a path that was leading back to Godhead. She was walking on a path. Prabhupada was next to her, and on both sides of the path, there were people criticizing her and saying, "Oh, she didn't chant properly. She didn't do this. She was a Westerner. She was a woman. She cannot do bhakti properly. She is not born in India." And Prabhupada turned to the people on both sides and said, "It's all right. She's with me." So we just have to be with Prabhupada. And even if he'll make up what we lack, even if we can't do it, we try. We just have to sincerely try to do our best. We can't be like Sukanya, I'm sure. Who can be like Sukanya? Though we do have examples in our movement of young girls marrying old Prabhupada disciples, and they're very happy, and they're serving. But we cannot imitate the great souls, but we can follow in their footsteps. We have to be very grateful. This gratefulness is very important. Always say thank you, Krishna. And there are advantages to being women in Krishna consciousness. Sometimes we just hear a lot of complaints and this and that, but there are advantages that, yes, we're more simple. Some women are more simple. We can accept easily all the things. I know when my husband, he couldn't accept that the moon is farther than the sun, or they went to the moon, they didn't go to the moon. For me, why not? It's easy. Just accept that. We learn unconditional love by being mothers and having children, and we can be easily devotional, and we can transform the hearts of men by prasad distribution, by preaching. Srila Prabhupada said to Mula Prakriti, it's an advantage to be a woman in Kali Yuga, to be a woman in Krishna consciousness, because you can approach the men more easily when you preach. When you preach, they trust you more. And so sometimes I would give a seminar and I ask the question to the women, what are the advantages of being a woman? And one woman raised her hand and said, "You can wear colors. You don't have to just wear white or saffron." That's another advantage. And another one said, "Krishna loves women." So there, there you have it. Um, so we have to just be attentive when we chant our rounds in the morning. Have a positive attitude. Be grateful with whatever position we have, and Krishna will help us. And Prabhupada will make up even if we can't do everything properly. So I'll stop here if there's any questions or comments can ask at this point.
Before, like, I know there are some questions. I'm very sorry for interrupting.
Okay.
But so happy that you shared your wisdom. It was so enlightening, especially the examples of Draupadi, her duties, and all, and that was so perfect for the context. Thank you very much for sharing your wisdom, Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Like, devotees, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions. Mother Andrea, you can start. You're the one I'm seeing on the camera.
Hare Krishna. Narayani Prabhu, thank you so much for the class. Actually, it's two quick questions. The verse that you quoted that had all the Vaishnavi qualities, I missed what verse that is.
Chapter 10, verse 34.
Chapter 10, verse 34. And then that beautiful quote that you said about the roots of humility grow deeper.
Oh, yes, that was from Burijan. Okay, let me just find that for you. Because I don't want to say it wrong. When the roots of humility grow deeper, the tree of bhakti grows taller.
And who said that?
Burijan Prabhu.
Burijan Prabhu?
Burijan, yeah, Bhurijana. Yeah, he's one of our gurus.
Oh, okay.
He's a grihasta. He's a married man.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, great.
That's a good one.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just really connected to so much of what you had to say, and it felt like exactly the class that I needed to come back to after a week of almost being gone because of health problems. And then you give this class, and it's exactly what I needed to hear about, just trying your best and keeping a positive attitude. And I loved all the stories of vaishnavis who overcame bodily problems to just continue to focus on Krishna and to continue to serve however they could. So just thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad you liked it and it helped you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you're a bit soft.
Soft? Okay. It's interesting. This story and the story you told us about when Mataji, who Srila Prabhupada told to marry a certain devotee, is about how sometimes someone has a father or a spiritual master that they trust so much that they're willing to let that person indicate, "I'd like you to take shelter of this person and marry this person," right? But in the scriptures also, there are descriptions of different ways that people get married. There's the Swayamvara ceremony where a princess will, she will pick her own husband because she's qualified and intelligent and, can discriminate. This person has the qualities and I'm going to put the garland on him, right? So that's another kind of marriage. And then there's the Kshatriya marriage, like you mentioned, when Krishna came and just swooped in and stole Rukmini, right, from the swarm.
Right.
It was so funny because in the Krishna book, it says that, Krishna picked her up and put her on the chariot. So they were doing this play, the devotees were doing a play, and they asked Prabhupada, is it okay if a male devotee picks up Mataji and puts her on the chariot in the play, touches a woman's body and in front of everyone? And Prabhupada said, Krishna didn't pick her, and it says right in Krishna book, Krishna picked her up, but Prabhupada said, Krishna didn't pick her up put her on the chariot. Rukmini jumped on the chariot, and Rukmini was driving the chariot, and Krishna was shooting arrows. So there's different ways that people get into that marriage. Their marriage is kind of like swoop in and grab the girl and Run away while you're fighting off everybody else who is interested.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know.
Yeah.
Krishna has varieties of ways that, but the classic example of, my dear father, my dear spiritual master, who do you have confidence would be a person that I should
Mm-hmm.
take shelter of? And to be satisfied to serve, right?
Yes.
Wonderful. And to know that we have that option. Okay, Krishna, this is where you're giving me. This is what you want me to do. I'll be satisfied doing this. We hope this will please you.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise we're thinking, I like this, I don't like that, I want this, I don't want that. Everyone is born in this world under delusion, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, based on desire and hate. Me, what I like, what I like, what I don't like, what I don't like. And that's a crazy way to live. No character, no love, just a selfish person. Oh, glories to Prabhupada.
Yeah, thank you for that anecdote about Prabhupada and seeing the play, that she jumped on the chariot. That's good. That's Prabhupada knows.
Hilarious. Everyone was laughing like anything. And Prabhupada was going, she was driving the chariot and Krishna was in the back shooting arrows. She jumped on the chariot. She heard about Krishna and she said, that's the one I want to marry. That's who I'm going to.
Right.
And she wrote to Krishna and then Krishna came there because that was her desire.
Here is a question. It's anonymous because it has been sent personally to me, so I'm not taking the name. So let me read it. Hare Krishna Mataji, being a good mother, wife, and daughter calls for loads of responsibilities and duties. How can we ensure that we don't get distracted from our spiritual path while serving a family? I'm a struggling devotee, and my kids and husband feel that I spend a lot of time listening to lectures and chanting, whereas I don't give them enough time. So, request your advice to handle this situation.
Yeah, it's very important to make sure your family feels like you're giving them proper attention. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had 10 children, and he gave each one of them quality time, it said. Like he would spend personal time with each one at least 10 minutes a day. And he was working. He was working too. And so it's very, very important that you make them feel that, you are serving them as you. His feeling was that these are all servants of Krishna. My family, and I have to serve them. I have to maintain them. I have to take care of them. So somehow you have to make them feel that you're happy serving them. You're happy, and you have to see them that way, and make them feel like that. So like I heard an example where Prabhupada was telling one devotee, if the baby comes and the baby wants to eat something, before it's offered, let the baby eat. So sometimes we have to, we have to let our feelings for our family, we have to make them feel that we love them and we care for them. And not we should not, in the name of Krishna consciousness, neglect them. Of course, not that you shouldn't listen to lectures and all these things, but you must probably spend an equal amount of time reading with them, doing Krishna conscious things with them. As much time as you spend on your own spiritual life, you have to spend equal time on their spiritual life too. We do need nourishment. We do need to listen. We do need to do these things. But there must be a balance. There must be a balance. So equal time, you give them equal time or even more time. And but yes, the yogis, they are thinking only for their own advancement, and they don't care about others. But the preacher, he wants to see that others advance also. So not that you preach to them, they won't like that, but you have to make it fun. You have to make it fun for them. And that's like my god sister Ananga Manjari. She has 3 children. Now they're growing up, and one of them is doing kirtan all over the world. The other 2 are great dancers, the 2 girls. And they asked the boy, well, why are you still, some devotees' children don't practice. Why are you still practicing Krishna consciousness? And he said, because my mother made it fun for me. So somehow you have to make it fun for them.
Krishna is so wonderful.
Yes.
That we turn to him and with something that we don't know how to do, and put it before the Lord and say, I'll do anything you want. Please show me. I want to do this how you want me to do it. And sometimes in the Italian families, when the boy gets married, the mother thinks, I've lost my son. I've lost my son. Right? You've heard that. And then they say to the mother, you haven't lost a son. You've gained a daughter. You ever hear that? Never? So when my mother used to complain that I neglected her or rejected her, I said, no, Mom, you haven't lost a son. You've gained the whole Hare Krishna movement as part of the family. Come and meet them. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Prabhupada didn't leave his family, he expanded his family.
Right. But those who are in the family also have to be very careful.
Yeah.
With their families.
Here is another question. So the thing is, okay, let me just read it. Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for a wonderful lecture. When the husband and the children are not interested in devotional service, how do I make it fun for them because they are not interested?
Yeah, that will be difficult if they're not interested in Krishna consciousness. The only thing you can do in that case is to show how happy you are, and there'll be show your good qualities, like how you don't get angry, how you're peaceful, how you love them, and then when they see how you're developing good qualities, then they'll want to be like you. Then they'll want, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing that's making you so happy all the time? And give them prasadam. You have to give them. That's our secret weapon. Even if you can't offer it in front of them, you can do it mentally. And prasadam is the secret weapon. Yeah. If possible, you can play kirtan or something, during the day.
I just wanted to ask another question. In general, by reading the scriptures, it does not seem like the different genders are pitted against them in their social life. They are not like male or female. They are not like against each other's gender or anything like that we see in the scripture, the society of that time. But today we see like there is like a tension, like even while dealing with the devotees, as soon as this topic about gender comes, there is like a tension. It's there in the like, at least I can experience it sometimes when these kind of heavy purports come or topics come. So there is a tension that there is a distrust or something like that. So how do we like not bring those things while we come into the devotional circles or while studying scriptures? At the same time, it's a real thing also. So how do we?
Well, the first thing is we have to understand what are the basic principles of Krishna consciousness, and how Prabhupada, we have Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So Prabhupada is the Shiksha Guru for everyone. So we have to study carefully, not only what the books say, what he says in the books, but how he acted, how he behaved, how he applied the principles of Krishna consciousness. Just like I had one quote today from a lecture where, he said, yes, women need protection, but Krishna, he throws out all of these in Bhagavad Gita when he says, you just surrender to me. So we have all this dharma, we have all these tensions, and Krishna, he taught all these different paths. Varnashram, he taught yoga, he taught jnana. At the end, he said, okay, throw this out, just surrender to me. And that's what Prabhupada did with us. He didn't teach us yoga or jnana or varnashram or karma. He just said, surrender to Krishna. And we accepted that. So that's the topmost principle. And on that level, he treated us all equally without discrimination. And when I joined, it was like that amongst the devotees. We were like a family. And we didn't have, it was very free. Like we were all going out in the same van, crowded together on Harinam, packed in a van without seats, and we would go out there and we would, equally chant and dance and be happy. And I remember I was out on Harinam late. We were out till midnight usually because we didn't go to Mangalarti the first 2 months I joined. And when Giraj Prabhu, he was brahmachari then, said, oh, you sing and dance so nicely. He didn't think, oh, I'm a brahmachari, I shouldn't. But he was our Sankirtan leader, and he was encouraging us. So we had that mood, and Prabhupada brought that mood in. He gave us that mood. So we have to realize, yes, we are all spiritual beings. Of course, we have to, and we didn't have problems, so many problems then. We were happy. I think we need to have more Harinam, more chanting. We need more purification, because when we're in Kirtan, we don't think, oh, it's this one or that one. We need to do more Krishna conscious things together and accept each other that, okay, we're all spirit souls, but at the same time, we need to behave a certain way in society. And we did that. We did that.
Thank you.
It's Kali Yuga, it's everything is upside down.
Mm.
Everything is upside down. So you can't expect, there's going to be tension. There's tension even in the family. There's tension in your own mind. People are like so much mental illness. It's the age of quarrel. It's the age of tension. It's going to be there. But somehow we need to go beyond it as devotees.
Thank you very much, Mother Narayani. That wisdom was very solace giving, actually, like kind of asking us to like focus on the Krishna consciousness aspect of our lives, so that we can actually cleanse our heart and become more peaceful and cooperative on all levels. So thank you very much. And I have to go down to show
Okay.
the darshan of the deities. So
Okay.
I'll just join from there from my.
Okay.
I'll join in a minute.
Okay. Are there more questions?
Others can feel free to discuss till then, no problem. Even if the discussion opens, the discussion can go on if there are questions.
Hare Krishna, Narayani Devi, Prabhu, Ananda Bihari here.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
That beautiful class. Thank you very much. I really admire your softness and humility, yet profound wisdom and realization in speaking on such a subject as gender and roles and structure and things like that. So my question is, what does it mean that women need to be protected? By whom? And what does it mean in relation to a man and to a woman? What does it mean socially? What does it mean emotionally, financially? Can you break it down, this topic of protection?
Yes. Well, the main thing is that the protection that women need is to be not misled or deviated. What I see when it says that women are less intelligent is that they listen to the men, I mean, who are not their protectors. They just listen to anyone and they believe them. And then they get into abusive relationships. So protector means that there is some man who is willing to encourage that lady to develop herself to the best of her ability in Krishna consciousness. Is willing to support her in whatever way she needs. And so every woman is different. Some women need something, they need children. Some women need even to work outside and be encouraged that way. Some women need to develop their devotional qualities, to do devotional service. So the man needs to be there to support them in that and to protect them from going off track, to encourage them. Yeah, that protection is mainly sometimes not to be impetuous or to do something. We all need that protection. Prabhupada said even Arjuna needed protection. The men need protection, but the women also need protection. And in that sense, it's good to take the Grihastha Vision course, because there it's explained very nicely. I did take part of that course, and there are classes on how the needs are different of men and women. They had an exercise where they sent the men and women separately, and the men, each of them had to make a list of what the men had to make a list what the women need to know about men, what the men need, and the women had to make a list what the men need to know about the women and what their needs are. So they came back together, and the men had a list of 2 things, and the women had a huge list, like 20. So you have to protect. You have to satisfy and protect the women in many ways. But I would advise anyone who is thinking of marriage or already married to take the course with the Grihastha Vision team. And you can find a lot of help there and a lot of understanding. How to do. I'm not an expert on that, although I was married and I have a son and 2 grandchildren. But yeah, I'm not so expert as they are on that. I wouldn't put myself as an example. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That was a very nice answer. I really liked how you explained how this protection goes the other way also. A
Yes.
woman can give tremendous protection to a man.
Yes.
And
yes.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Koti Pranam. Am I audible, Mataji?
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Koti Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, I really enjoyed your lecture, but I was just, I wanted to ask that as we are Grihasti and all the members in the house are not following Krishna consciousness, so we have difficulty in moving about, like we have restrictions, Mataji, to follow Krishna consciousness. As at home we can do all the seva and all, but like to go out and all, there are restrictions that you should not, we are not allowed to go much out and go and do seva and all. Only limitations we have, Mataji. So like we have to cope up with that. I think Prabhujis have more freedom than Matajis. So how
Uh,
do we go?
well, you should be grateful for whatever opportunities you have, and
Yes,
don't think
Mataji,
what you don't have.
which
It's
I'm
not only you.
experiencing.
It's not only now. With this COVID thing, um, other people, even the men, are limit. There are restrictions, like in California and some states
Yes,
of the United States. So just be grateful and try to do as much as you can with what you can do, and then that will expand. There was
yes,
one
Mataji.
lady. There's a story. She was paralyzed, and the only one thing that was left of her was her little finger. So she just worked on that little finger, and then her next finger started working, and then the next one, and she even started to walk. So we may have just little bits that we can do, little opportunity, but you do the best you can on that little thing, and be grateful and have a positive attitude with that.
Yes, Mataji, which is I think we are experiencing that that on Zoom we are getting so many lectures to we can hear physically and mentally we cannot go, but
Right,
at
right.
home we are getting the lectures. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions? Okay, so I guess we can stop here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you so much, Mother Narayani. Her guys Narayani Devi ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Very grateful to you for your association. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.